we have already studied the pre-fertilization structures and events. That is, anatomy of the male and female reproductive system, followed by gametogenesis. Gametogenesis in males is called spermatogenesis and in females called as oogenesis. I am sure you are now able to explain those processes. Now let's see the next process, that is fertilization. Fertilization is the process of fusion of spermatozoon with mature ovum to form a single-celled structure called zygote. It's a highly complex process. See the flow chart. It begins with chemoattraction between male and female gametes, then release of the acrosomal enzyme from the head of the sperm, binding of the sperm to the extracellular envelopes, passing through the extracellular envelope, and finally fusion of sperm and egg nuclei. And where is the site of the fertilization? Yes, it is in the bent part of the fallopian tube and ultimately forming the embryo which gets implanted in the uterus. We'll study it in more detail. In this diagram you can see the steps of fusion of sperm and ovum, how the sperm reaches the ovum and finally makes entry into the ovum, and then only the head part enters the ovum and the tail remains out. So in this diagram also it is very clear how the ovum is released into the fallopian tube, followed by the fertilization process and then the process of embryonic development up to implantation. Again, now you see this diagram. Very clear diagram shows how the sperm makes contact with the egg, then acrosome reacts with zona pellucida, then the sperm finally enters the ovum. Now the question is, what is the result of fertilization? What is the importance of fertilization? Yes, you can see the fertilization event is responsible for the diploid number of chromosome, identification of the sex of the child. Here you can see how we can make out whether the offspring will be male or female depending upon which sperm has fertilized the ovum. This you have already studied in class 10th also, and in 12th in the genetics part we will study it in more detail. Now you can see this diagram, it is given in your book, which shows how the ovum is fertilized by the sperm and finally resulting into a structure called zygote, which is a single cell, and zygote will further develop into the complete new offspring. By the first, in that process, implantation is very important. It is a process in which the embryo moving as a blastocyst through a uterus makes contact with the uterine wall and gets attached to it until birth, and the lining of the endometrium prepares for the development of the blastocyst so that it gets embedded. See the diagram, very beautifully it is showing the different steps of fertilization, and after that what are the steps being taking place. So first is ovulation, second is fertilization, I have already explained. Then the third process is called cleavage. Cleavage is the division, embryonic division. The zygote which is formed starts dividing into 2-cell stage, 4-cell stage, 8-cell stage, and finally developing into morula. Okay, morula is a mulberry-like, ball-like structure. After morula, this morula converts into a further ball-like structure which is called as blastocyst. But here these cells organize themselves in such a way that you can see a hollow ball-like structure is formed with one inner cell mass and the blue color layer. So You can see blastocyst is a structure formed in the early development of mammals. It possesses an inner cell mass which subsequently forms the embryo. The outer layer of blastocyst consists of cells which are called as trophoblast. Let's see the diagram of a blastocyst. Very easy diagram but very important. See the blue colored mass called as inner cell mass. Then there is a hollow structure called as blastocele, and then an outer layer called as trophoblast. Please practice this diagram also, and we will study the further embryonic development in the next segment. Thank you.